Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, the battle to take over from David Cameron as Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister has rapidly moved into its final phase. A vote of Conservative Party members who must choose between the Home Secretary and Remain supporter Theresa May and the Business Minister and Leave campaigner Andrea Leadsom. Speaking of the launch of her campaign, Theresa May said she wanted to unite the Tory party and the country.
If ever there was a time for a Prime Minister who is ready and able to do the job from day one, this is it. We have immediate work to do to restore political stability and economic certainty, to bring together the party and the country, and to negotiate a sensible and orderly departure from the European Union. But more than that, we have a mission to make Britain a country that works not for the privileged and not for the few, but for every one of our citizens.
And we're now joined by Leader of the Commons, Chris Grayling, one of 4 cabinet ministers to campaign to leave the EU, but he's now supporting Theresa May, who campaigned for Remain. So why is a Leaver like you supporting a Remainer like Mrs May?
Well, the key thing is now having the right person for the job. David Cameron's chosen to step aside. I regret that. We now need somebody who's got the experience to step into his shoes and somebody in whom I and we can have confidence that they will deliver Brexit. Now, I've known Theresa for a very long time. She's a very determined politician. I know that having got a mandate from the public to deliver Brexit, that she'll do that. I wouldn't be supporting her if that wasn't the case.
What assurances have you sought from her?
Well, I've sought absolute assurances from her that she means what she says when she says Brexit means Brexit. It is really important. The country has spoken. The country has given us a clear direction to follow. The next Prime Minister has to follow that direction. I'm 100% confident that Theresa understands that and is committed to it.
But as we learned during the referendum, Brexit can mean one of several things. There are varieties of Brexit. So what do you say to Tory leavers who were on your side, that they're worried she'll water down the Brexit terms?
Well, I don't think that's right at all. And again, of course, it's not just me. We have a whole range of Tory leavers who are backing her, David Davis, Liam Fox, Priti Patel, because we think that she has got the weight and the experience to deliver what people want.
You've said that, but I'm still not quite sure of what assurances you've got that she will deliver as you would want her to, and David Davis and others. For example, can you guarantee to our viewers this morning that she won't settle for a British version of Norway's relationship with the EU or Switzerland's relationship with the EU?
Well, what we've said all along and what Theresa has said to me is we want a UK solution. We want a UK relationship with the European Union. It's not about trying to replicate someone else's. We've got a clear mandate, for example, to end the principle of unfettered free movement into the United Kingdom from elsewhere in the European Union. We saw nearly 200,000 people net arrive in the United Kingdom last year. The British public have given us a clear mandate that they want that to change.
Well, Theresa May has promised, quote, control of free movement. That needn't be the same as the end of free movement, is it? What does she mean by control?
But that's what we campaigned on for 4.5 months, taking back control. The thing that I found unacceptable and still find unacceptable is that we cannot control the flow of people into the country. Now, there will be times when we need to recruit particular skills, where we need to allow people to move within businesses. We need to have a managed system. So it's all about control. It's about our politicians, our government, being able to decide when, how and where, and the number of people who can come and live and work in the United Kingdom. And that's what we campaign for.
But for some EU citizens, would there still be an automatic right to come here?
Well, it will depend on what our rules set out by our Parliament are. The whole point about this, it is about control. At the moment, we have no control. We cannot set limits on the number of people who come and live and work here. And the very clear mandate from the British public, something that Theresa absolutely 100% recognised and said so in her opening speech at a campaign launched last week, we have to take back control of our migration system.
But we don't know what control means.
Well, it means our Parliament, our government, being able to set limits on the number of people who can come and live and work here.
What sort of limits then?
Well, that's going to be decided depending on whether we have skills needs, whether we have housing shortages, depending on the circumstances. None of us envisage a situation where we erect barricades at Dover and nobody can ever come and live and work or move within companies into the United Kingdom. But it's absolutely fundamental that the ultimate control over what happens should reside with our government and our parliament.
Why do you trust Mrs May on free movement when after 6 years at the Home Office, she couldn't even get non-EU net migration below 100,000? Which was the promise. Never mind overall net migration. Why would you trust her?
Well, I mean, first of all, do bear in mind we spent 5 of those 6 years in coalition with the Liberal Democrats.
She's not claimed she was stopped from doing anything.
But we have just passed our first Conservative-only Immigration Act that will, for example, allow us to close the bank accounts and take away the driving licences of people who overstay. One of the challenges in the immigration system is people who come here legitimately for a short period but never go. That's something we need to address.
But why would you trust her? She's so far out. Net migration 3 times the target that she agreed to 6 years ago. Why would you trust her to get it right when so far she's got it horrendously wrong?
Well, if you look at the flow of migrants from inside the European Union, she's got no ability to control that at all.
But she's not even controlled the ones from outside. That's my point.
Yeah. And what I've said, Andrew, is we have just passed our first Conservative-only Immigration Act. There have been limits to what we can do over the last few years in coalition. We've introduced a whole raft of different measures. But, of course, as Theresa May herself said the other day, it is very difficult because people are constantly looking for new ways around our system. I hope and believe the act that we passed 2 months ago, the first Conservative-only Immigration Act, will make a significant difference.
In what way are our borders safer under Mrs May than they were in 2010?
Well, our borders are safe in terms of counter-terrorism.
They're safer.
Because,
in what ways are they safer? What's she done to make us safer?
well, a huge amount of work has been put in place to protect our borders. If you look at what's been done in Calais, we have now got a much better system of border control in Calais. We've been able to resist enormous pressure from people who want to come into the country illegally.
What has she done to make the British borders safer?
Well, she has introduced a whole raft of new measures on the immigration front.
You said that.
She has strengthened the border at Calais. She's negotiated international agreements that, for example, saw Abu Qatada deported to Jordan. She has, in my view, done a huge amount to improve the workings of our security services. As Home Secretary, she's responsible for the workings of MI5. They've done a fantastic job in protecting us against security threats in the last 5 years.
Will she rule out a second referendum?
Oh, there's no question of a second referendum.
Well, don't you say that, but Dominic Grieve, who's one of our prominent supporters and her team, says the referendum result's not written in stone, people can change their minds.
No. Theresa's been very clear, we're all very clear, there is not going to be a second referendum. We can't just turn around and say to the British public, we didn't like what you said the first time round, so we're going to ask you again. Actually, those of us who campaign passionately for leave would not serve in a government that simply chucked away the first results and decided we'll have another go. I wouldn't serve in that situation. I wouldn't back Theresa if I thought that was the case for a moment.
All right, that's clear enough. Speaking of the campaign, do you regard the promises Vote Leave made during the referendum as sacrosanct? Promises you made?
One of the things I said to you on this programme during the course of the campaign, Andrew, was that a campaign group can only make recommendations. Right. It's for government to implement.
But you made a number of promises. For example, you promised explicitly that the status of EU citizens already here would not change. Mrs May's not promising that.
Well, I cannot conceive of a situation where we would want to end the rights of EU citizens who are here to not remain. I mean, of course, there's always some individual circumstances, those committing criminal offences, for example.
But she's talking about them being a bargaining chip.
No,
she has not said. You said during the campaign there will be no change for EU citizens already lawfully resident in the UK. Mrs May is not saying that.
Well, of course, legally, for those who've been here for more than 5 years, that is legally the case today. But, of course, we want to make sure that we can protect our own citizens in other EU countries. It's right and proper that a UK government should have its own UK citizens.
But you never said that. During the campaign, you never said there'll be no change to EU citizens here, provided the EU looks after our citizens there. That was never a condition. Now, are you saying it is?
I don't think there will be any change on either side. I think everyone will take a grown-up approach to this. It would be too damaging to do otherwise. However, we should always make sure that we look after the interests of our own citizens. I don't think anything is going to change. I don't expect for a moment
So why doesn't she say that?
What she said last week.
No. She says that she doesn't want to agree anything till she sees how they treat our citizens. Are you comfortable with the line that she's taken? The only people who support her on this are the BNP.
she has said precisely what I've just said. I'm expecting all EU citizens, perhaps bar those who committed criminal offences and one or two other individual circumstances, to be able to stay as they do now, and I'm expecting UK citizens in other countries to be able to stay there too. That's right and proper, but of course we should make sure that we can look after the interests of United Kingdom citizens if we need to.
Can you guarantee, can Mrs May, has she guaranteed to you that we'll be out of the EU by the next general election?
Well, the timing, of course, requires that. She said that we will trigger Article 50 around the end of this year. There is then a 2-year time frame. The next general election is 2020. So I can't see any circumstances in which we wouldn't leave by 2020.
So the answer is yes, gone by 2020.
That's what I would expect. I said that during the campaign. In timing terms, that's where we would end up, yes.
Chris Grayling, thank you.
I've been getting away with it all